living in the miraculous, and I want to prove a bit of a point. I used to go to church from the time I was about 8 till I was 13. And the church told me to give up my swimming and go to church on Sunday instead of going to the swimming events. I didn't like that. I thought that was a bit over the top because I'd put a lot of effort into training and so forth. So I left the church, walked away. I ended up with a couple of gold medals, Australian gold medals for swimming. So, and I believed in my heart that Yahusha gave me the power to achieve that goal. And then my sin set in and the spirit in my flesh started to take me over. I became a homosexual. Yeah. And I did everything that you shouldn't do, and I hurt a lot of people, said a lot of things. Sort of, you know how Paul was killing all the believers, the early believers? Well, I was killing people with words. I was very nasty. I ended up on stage with the drag queens doing shows, and I followed their antics, and I was a real bitchy, gay, queenie, wrist-flapping sort of person, and very unpopular. I couldn't control myself. I was so nasty. And I ended up drinking a lot of alcohol. Used to have a bottle of brandy a day, and in a dreadful state. It was misery. And then at about 28, I was trying to fight this spirit in my flesh out of me. I wanted to get out of being gay. I wanted to stop it. I couldn't. And because I felt guilty too, because I missed out on marrying a Chinese princess because I was gay. My guru in Indonesia told me I couldn't marry the Chinese princess that he was going to join me up with because of being a homosexual. So that sort of struck a chord in me, and I started trying to fight it off. Then a year later, my darling came into my life. The first 29 years of my life was pretty radical, pretty crazy. And then we married, and she's been with me all that time. And I can honestly say, in 47 years of marriage, I have never double-crossed her. I've got lots of thoughts and things like that, but I was fighting, overcoming. As my Christian journey continued, I joined an Indonesian Pentecostal church, and the pastor was just lovely at first, but then he turned. He was seeking something, and he didn't include me, but I was still working with him. And that went on for many, many years. And then he said, I want to take you to Indonesia where you'll become a pastor. You'll be ordained as a pastor. So, of course, I went. I was looking for whatever could happen. I just loved the word. And I realised the word is what touched me, not so much religion. So I couldn't differentiate between the two. So I found out a few years after I got ordained that my pastor got ordained at the same time as me. He was in a different place, different part of the room than I was. We all had to line up, and there was all these pastors being anointed and prayed over and everything. So I found out that he was being ordained the same time as me, but he never treated me like that. It was always just very hard and horrible to me. So then a few years after that, I realised I got a book called Fossilised Customs given to me from one of the guys in the congregation, and he also gave me a scripture that talks about Yahuah and Yahusha. That was my first introduction to Yahusha. And when I read them, I said, that's it. I don't agree with this church. I don't think they're doing what the scripture says. So I made up my mind to walk away. And then you were involved in all that when we did that. And when I found Yahusha, something started happening inside me. I felt different, and I realised his name, and I wanted to seek it out more. What's this? Why I've never felt this in the Christian church. We weren't into Christianity then. We walked away, didn't we?
Yeah, we were following Yahusha.
And we had our own.
We got immersed again.
And then we started going deeper, and I read about when you see these things happening in the world, run to the mountains. And that's when we got the feeling to come up to Cairns, get away from everything, because it's getting worse and worse in Sydney. That's where we were. So this thing started to happen in me and change in me. So I didn't know what it was, what I was experiencing, and you know the rest of the story from there on, how Yahusha had come to me and he was talking to me and telling me all sorts of things. I was constantly reading and studying and looking up things. So we've got to the point now where Victoria and I went on a trip for 8 months, and Yahusha really spoke to me on the trip. I'm driving the car and Victor's there with a phone typing out everything that I'm telling her that he's giving me. So we really made a contact with that. Okay? So here we are now up to this. I just wanted to give a little bit of my background so everyone can understand what has happened to me. And this video is called Living in the Miraculous, and we want to talk about the miraculous. Remember the last video we made, and we were talking about how they treated him, how the world, how religion has treated Yahusha, pushing him aside. And I was hoping that you guys might see a point, that the three of you have been doing that to me. I thought you might say, oh, that's what we've been doing to you. So I talked with Victoria about it this morning, and I said to her, why have you not wanted to let anybody know about me or what's happened to me? You're hiding me, you're squashing me. So that's the same question I put before you guys. What's your reason?